Jaya Radha
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Munatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Krishna Rukmini Jaya Satyabhama Krishna Rukmini Jaya Satyabhama Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Stottarashata Shri Shri Madhus Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Samsthapakacharya Savior of the whole world Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayed Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26, Fundamental Principles of Material Need. Text number 44. Rasa Matrad Vikurvanad Rasa Matrad Vikurvanad Ambhaso Daivachodhitat Ambhaso Daivachodhitat Gandha Matram Abhut Tasmat Gandhamatram Abhut Tasmat Prithvi Granaha Tu Gandhagaha Prithvi Granastu Gandhagaha Rasamatrad Vikurvanan Ambhaso Daivachodhitan Gandhamatram Abhutasman Prithvi Granastu Gandhagaha
Rasamatrat vikurvanad
Rasmatrat Vigurvanat
Ambaso daiva choditat
Ambaso Daivachodhitat
Gandamatram abhutasmat
Gandhamatram Abhutasman
Prithvi granastu gandagaha
Prithvi Granastu Gandhagaha
रसमात्राद् विकुर्वन्वा
Natvamatrat Vikurvanat
अम्बसोधैव चोदिता
Ambaso Daivachodhitat
गन्धमात्रम् अभूतस्मात्
Gandhamatram Abhutasmat
पृथ्वीघ्राणस्तु गन्धकः
Prithvi Granastu Gandhagaha
रसमात्राद् विकुर्वाणाद्
Rasamatrat Vikurvanat
अम्बसो दैवचोदितात्
Ambaso Daivachodhitat
गन्धमात्रमभूत्तस्मात्
Gandhamatram Abhutasmat
पृथ्वीग्राणास्तु गन्धगः
Prithvi Granastu Gandhagaha Rasamatrat, which evolves from the subtle element taste. Vikurvana, undergoing transformation. Ambhasaha, from water. Daiva Choditan, by a superior arrangement. Gandhamatram, the subtle element odor. Abhut, became manifest. Tasmat, from that, Prithvi, earth, Granaha, the olfactory sense, to, in fact, Gandhagaha, which perceives aromas. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Due to the interaction of water with the taste perception, the subtle element odor evolves under superior arrangement. Thence, the earth and the olfactory sense by which we can variously experience the aroma of the earth become manifest. Please repeat this translation after me. Due to the interaction of water with the taste perception, the subtle element odor evolves under superior arrangement. Thence, the earth and the olfactory sense by which we can variously experience the aroma of the earth become manifest. Text 45, I'll read by myself. Karambhaputi saurabhya shanto gramladibhi prathak dravyavayava vaishamyat gandha eko vibhidyate. Translation. Odor, although one, becomes many as mixed, offensive, fragrant, mild, strong, acidic, and so on, according to the proportions of associated substances. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Mixed smell is sometimes perceived in foodstuffs prepared from various ingredients, such as vegetables mixed with different kinds of spices and as a fatida. Bad odors are perceived in filthy places. Good smells are perceived from camphor, menthol, and similar other products. Pungent smells are perceived from garlic and onions, and acidic smells are perceived from turmeric and similar sour substances. The original aroma is the odor emanating from the earth, and when it is mixed with different substances, this odor appears in different ways. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhuta Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravan Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyarishta. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhaktavrinda. Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam yat kripatamaham bande Paramanandamadhavam yat kripatamaham bande Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So Lord Kapila is explaining the fundamental principles of material nature. This is the Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya means analysis. So analysis of whatever is in existence in this material world or material creation. Because our very nature or characteristic is we are spirit soul. Our fundamental characteristic is we have consciousness. This consciousness differentiates us from matter. So right in the beginning, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna distinguishes matter and spirit, or body and soul. Because under a misconception, we think that we are the body, or we are matter, product of matter. Because the way a child is born, the parents, they combine to give a body to the spirit soul. But ordinarily people can't understand that the body is appearing to be like a living body. Symptoms of life are visible in the body, but body is basically matter. The symptoms of life are due to the presence of the spirit within the body. So there are so many different philosophies to explain this difference between a living body and dead matter. Fundamentally, the philosophies are classified as Shad Darshana, all based on the Vedas, based on Vedic knowledge. So apart from the Shad Darshana, there are atheistic philosophies, but the theistic philosophies based on Vedas, 6 different philosophies, of which only the Vedanta Darshana presented by Vyasadeva is the correct understanding of the Vedic conclusions of the Vedas. The other 5, even though they are based on the Vedas, they are based on an interpretation by some learned rishis, learned scholars. They are philosophers, so therefore they have their own darshana or philosophy. You would have heard this. Prabhupada in the beginning itself, in several places Prabhupada mentions about this. 5 other philosophers other than Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva has presented Vedanta Darshana, and the others are representing some atomic theory. Kanada Rishi, Kana means atom. So he considers atom as the fundamental principle based on which the entire material world or cosmic manifestation is ultimately combination of atoms. So combination of atoms form different material objects. Okay, that's all right. But what about this living body, which is different than all the other things? That one, he simply says that under certain conditions, a certain combination exhibits symptoms of consciousness, symptoms of life. But that's not going to last. Our experience is, when the body is born, yes, there is consciousness, but when the body dies, no more consciousness. So, somehow some adjustment is done to explain off the difference between living and living bodies and dead matter. Then there are other philosophers, those who actually study what is this law of karma, action and reaction. So they base the entire existence as simply there are actions and there are reactions. That's all. So merely people have to perform, avoid sinful activities, because by sinful activities they get sinful reactions. They should exclusively perform pious activities and their life is successful. That's all. Merely perform pious activity. Go on performing pious activity. And one day you will get whatever perfection or whatever conclusion. So that is also defective, because the laws of nature are so complex that not only that for every action there is a reaction, which may be either material activities, either punya or papa, yes, but then the kala determines when the reaction is going to be experienced. So in the Bhagavad Gita, the complete understanding of these laws of nature giving rise to reactions for particular specific action types of actions is governed by kala, and the instrument for somebody to experience a reaction are the three gunas. So elaborately in the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained kala, karma, guna. All the three have to be understood. And this kala, karma, guna, the jiva, living entity, is subject to this kala, karma, guna in this material world, and there is the Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, who is the controller of all the four, kala, karma, guna and jiva. He is independent. The jiva is always subordinate and dependent on the Ishvara. So this is the Vedanta Darshana, basically. This understanding of this material world consisting of these 5 truths, 5 tattvas, that is very clearly brought out in the Vedanta Sutra. So when Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan wrote the Govinda Bhashya, he explains Vedanta Darshana or Vedanta Sutra, explains 5 truths: Ishvara, Jiva, Kala, Karma, Guna or Prakriti. But Prabhupada, when he wrote the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, exactly the same 5 truths are explained as the explanation of the Bhagavad Gita itself. So there is one devotee who has analyzed the Govinda Bhashya of Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan and the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita presented by Prabhupada. And he says, both are the same. So where in the Bhagavad Gita do we get a link between Bhagavad Gita and Vedanta Sutra? as consisting basically of the same this thing. So in 15.16, 15th chapter, 16th verse, Dvavimau purushau loke ksharakshakshara evacha sharas sarvani bhutani kutastokshara uchyate. Is that the verse? Let me confirm. Sometimes I tell some verse, I think it is 15.16. Maybe some other verse. Let me just. Yeah, this is the verse. So the purport to this verse is very interesting. Prabhupada says in the purport, of course the verse means there are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible, Kshara and Akshara. In the material world, every entity is fallible. And in the spiritual world, every entity is called infallible. Purport. This is the verse which actually is the explanation for how, what tattvas are there in the Vedanta Sutra, the same tattvas explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Purport Prabhupada says, as already explained, the Lord in his incarnation as Vyasadeva compiled the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Krit. Here the Lord is giving in summary the contents of the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra consists of some 575 sutras. Okay. Bhagavad Gita contains 700 verses, of which Krishna has spoken only 525 verses, something like that. Okay. About the same, similar number. So, Vedanta Sutra and what Vyasadeva is presented and what Krishna speaks about the essence of Vedic wisdom in the Bhagavad Gita, both are about the same number of verses. But here Prabhupada says, in this one verse, Krishna is giving in summary the contents of the Vedanta Sutra. Krishna finishes off the whole Vedanta Sutra in one verse. So that is Krishna's genius, of course. He is the Supreme Lord. So I was always thinking, when I came across this purport, then Prabhupada should have explained somewhere what is the summary of the Vedanta Sutra itself. Vedanta Sutra itself is summary of the Upanishads. And Upanishads is the philosophical essence of the Vedas. So Vedanta Sutra is the cream of the Vedas. But here in Bhagavad Gita, there is a cream of the cream of the cream of the Vedas. That is the speciality of Bhagavad Gita. And Shankaracharya, he says from the Gita Mahatmya, I think this is taken, Sarvopanishado gavo dogdha gopalanandanaha partho vatsa sudhir bhokta dugdham gitamritam mahat. If all the Upanishads can be compared to a cow, Bhagavad Gita is the nectarian essence of the cow, which is the milk. Dugdham Gita Amritam Mahat. So, in that sense, actually, Upanishads means Vedanta. So, Vyasadeva has presented Vedanta Sutra as the essence of the Vedanta philosophy. But Krishna also has given us the Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of the Vedanta philosophy from Bhagavad Gita. So then I came across this devotees writing both the summary of the Vedanta Sutra and the summary of the Bhagavad Gita is the same. And he has studied the Govinda Bhashya and he is presenting Prabhupada's introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. Both he is saying the same thing. 5 topics and they are explained. Govinda Bhasha explains the 5 fundamental topics: Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, Karma. And even Bhagavad Gita also the same thing. So therefore, I think, this is my guess, Prabhupada in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita says, to Srila Baldev Vidya Bhushan, who presented so nicely the Govinda Bhashya commentary on Vedanta philosophy. He dedicates this Bhagavad Gita translation and commentary he has written, Prabhupada he has written to Srila Baldev Vidya Bhushan, because the essence is the same. So my point is that this whole material creation, the ultimate substance is matter and spirit of the material creation. But even those who study this matter and spirit and try to differentiate the two, they miss out the super soul, who is actually the creator, the maintainer, the destroyer, the Lord, the sustainer, everything. Super soul is missed out. Therefore, several places in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says, one should try to understand. Knowledge means Prabhupada. So different ways Prabhupada presents this. I think in the 13th purport. Anyway, it is there. Knowledge means to understand what is matter, what is spirit, and who is the controller of both. Matter, spirit, and the controller of both. So it's actually the super soul who is originally Sankarshana in the spiritual world, who first of all enters into this dormant material energy, the form of pradhana, and he activates it by his glands. And when material energy is activated, the transformation of that material energy begins. It begins to differentiate. First of all, the 3 gunas, and then the Lord injects the living entities into this dormant material energy, and the living entities have their false ego from the previous destruction. That false ego actually first appears as one of the elements, ahankara. And then the interaction between the 3 gunas and this false ego, that's a sequence in which different transformations take place. This is explained in the 2nd canto, in a conversation between Brahma and Narada. It's explained there. So here, Lord Kapila is simply analyzing matter consists of 24 elements. That's given in the Bhagavad Gita also. Even though in 7th chapter 4th verse, Krishna says, Bhumirapo nalo vayu kham mano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti rashtada. This separated energy called material energy consists of 8 elements. But in 13.6, describing analyzing the field, this kshetra and kshetrajna. So kshetrajna is the knower of the field and kshetra is the field itself, which is this body. It's essentially matter. So there also, in 13.6, Krishna says 24 different constituents of this field or matter, 24 elements. The only difference is in Lord Kapila's analysis of matter and what Krishna says in the 13th chapter, the 24 elements of matter. The 23 are common. What are the 23? Pancha Mahabhuta, Mahabhutani Ahankara, Buddhir Avyaktamevacha, then Indriyani Dashaikam cha, Panchachendriya Gocharaha. See, if you take the set of 5s, there are 5 elements, great elements, earth, water, fire, air, sky. Then there are 5 Karmendriya, Jnanendriya, and 5 sense objects. So totally they make 20, 4 sets of 5. And then 3 are Ahankara, Buddhi and Manas. So 23 is very clear. The 24th is a common thing between what Kapila's analysis and Krishna's analysis. 24th item in Krishna's list, Avyakta, unmanifest state of the 3 gunas. And Lord Kapila calls the 24th element as, what is it? Contaminated consciousness. Contaminated consciousness. So anyway, whatever that analysis, the whole differentiation and the transformations after it differentiated and ultimately again the destruction. Creation is the transformation of Mahat Tattva, activated Pradhana into the elements, and then the combination of these elements to form different objects and different bodies, because spirit soul is unchangeable. Spirit soul is the eternal particle of spirit, the conditioned souls. So they get bodies, and those bodies are undergoing constant change. Adhibhutam ksharo bhavaha. This is all explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Everything is explained in very brief statements. So the very nature of this material energy is constantly changing. And the changes are perceived as creation, maintenance and destruction. Basically, it's a transformation. So this transformation that is happening, what are the cause for this transformation? That is a mystery for many, many, many different learned scholars of the Vedas, or even those who are atheistic philosophers. There are different theories to explain this change that is taking place. So if some change is happening, what is the unchanging reality behind this change, which is the ultimate cause of change? So that is analyzed differently. As I said, the 5 darshanas by those 5 philosophers, they are analyzing one way, each one is analyzing one way and giving 5 different philosophies as the ultimate reality. But Vyasadeva points out in his Vedanta Sutra and even in the Srimad Bhagavatam and in many other places also in the Vedas, original Vedas, that the defect behind these 5 philosophies, even though they have got some partial truth being explained, yes, just like the atomic theory, ultimately matter consists of that which is indivisible, is the material atom. Yes, that is correct. But what about the spiritual atom? Kanada has completely missed out the spiritual atom, the spirit soul. Then the law of karma, the theory that karma mimamsa philosophy, they also analyze the laws of nature are working and producing the reactions, yes, but they are not able to explain that beyond these laws of nature, there is the Supreme Lord who's above these laws and who's actually directing the whole working of the material nature. Maya Dyakshena Prakritihi Suyate Sucharacharam. That they are missing out. And also, those who actually take shelter of the Supreme Lord as the super soul or as the personality Vishnu, who is invisible, who is not understood even by those who perform severe austerities in Ashtanga Yoga, or those who study the Vedas, the Jnanis, the Tapasvis, and of course the Karmis who are always performing pious activities. They all miss out the personality Vishnu. Even the Devatas, when they approach Vishnu in Shvetadvipa, they are not able to actually see him. They are not able to see him. They just have to submit their prayers, and the Lord responds in his own way. Just like when before Krishna's appearance, when the Devatas went to Vishnu and they wanted Vishnu to reduce the burden of the earth, it is overburdened by demoniac persons posing as kings. So then Vishnu replied through the heart of Brahma. Vishnu replied to the heart of Brahma. So even Vishnu is not seen by the Devatas or the most pious people, personalities in this whole creation. So Vishnu actually cannot be understood except to some extent the Brahman feature is understood by the Jnanis and the Paramatma feature by the Yogis, but both of them cannot understand the source of Brahman and Paramatma as the personality Bhagavan. That they cannot understand. That is only understood by the devotees. Only understood by the devotees. So in order to know the absolute truth in perfection, bhakti is the only process. Even the Jnanis and the yogis, even though they may realize Brahman and Paramatma, but that realization is not complete or perfect realization of the Brahman feature or even the Paramatma feature. Of course, they don't realize the Bhagavan feature. But even the realization of Brahman is very, very incomplete, because they are unable to ascertain the source of Brahman. Similarly, Paramatma, Prabhupada explains in Bhagavad Gita one place. Paramatma manifestation is a temporary manifestation in the material world only. So, if Paramatma manifestation temporary in the material world, then how can you understand Paramatma is one of the aspects of the absolute truth, which is the ultimate reality? That you cannot understand unless you understand actually the Paramatma is a temporary manifestation of the personality of Godhead, who expands as the Paramatma only for the sake of this material world. That's all. Otherwise, his eternal form is in the spiritual world, Sankarshana. Sankarshana expands as Mahavishnu, Mahavishnu expands as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu expands as Kshirodakshai Vishnu. Kshirodakshai Vishnu is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma. So as Vishnu, he becomes visible and invisible. Same thing about Paramatma also. He is visible and invisible. Not that he is sometimes present and sometimes not present. He is always present, eternally present. As Sankarshana is eternally there. But he manifests his specific form as Mahavishnu or Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, Paramatma, temporarily. So it is that super soul who is present in the heart of every living entity who actually makes this body work. He makes this body work. Like we use our nose for smelling different odors. Why I am telling all this is, it is said here that during the process of creation, the interaction of water with the taste perception, due to the interaction of water with the taste perception, the subtle element odor evolves under superior arrangement. What is the superior arrangement? It is Supreme Lord Vishnu who makes this happen. This differentiation. And then even if the odors are definitely there, how do we perceive the odors differently? How am I able to perceive the odors differently? Because I am spirit soul. I have nothing to do with matter. For me, matter is completely new, something foreign. So there is always the development of knowledge, of sense perception, of forms, of tastes, of odors. Just like a child is growing up, you can understand very easily. It can't recognize different forms as this is table, that is floor, that is wall. That's Father, what is this? Father said, this table. What is that? That's wall. What is this? Floor. It's learning, development of knowledge. So this development of knowledge originally is the Lord actually revealing to Brahma. Tene Brahma Hrudaya Adi Kavaye Muhyanti Yat Suraya. So the Lord is active even when Brahma creates. Actually, Actually, Brahma's creation is not real creation. Brahma merely does the secondary creation called Visarga. The 10 topics of the Bhagavatam, Sarga, Visarga. First is Sarga, the creation of the fundamental elements. Creation of fundamental elements. 16 elements, that's described in the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto. Then the combination to form different material objects is not done by Brahma. It is done by the Virat Purusha, another form of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So Garbhodakshai Vishnu enters each universe. Mahavishnu breathes out universes. And Garbhodakshai Vishnu enters into each universe, then the universe begins to develop. So for the universe to develop, he first of all, when he enters, the seed-like universe becomes a big universal shell. Then he half fills the universal shell with the water of his perspiration. That's called Garbha Udaka, the water of the Garbha ocean. Half the universe is filled with Garbha ocean. And he lies down on the Garbha ocean. Therefore, it's called Garbhodaka Shayi Vishnu. Vishnu means who originally entered into this material, dormant material energy. Vishnu, one who enters. That comes from this word. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Vishate tadanantaram. Vishate means I enter. Sorry, not I. The living entity enters into the spiritual world after he is liberated. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvata tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tadanantaram. So similarly, Vishnu means one who enters. So he enters first of all into the dormant material energy, activates it, injects the living entities, the gunas become activated, then the whole material energy differentiates. Now, how is it differentiating? Actually, it's the action of Vishnu only. His glancing is both injecting the living entities and differentiating material energy into the elements. Then he expands as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and he enters into each universe, and then the universe begins to develop. So he lies down on the Garbha ocean, and then from his navel one lotus flower sprouts out. And then that lotus flower, Brahma is born. So Vishnu is the father of Brahma, actually, Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And Brahma tries to find out the source of his birth, purpose of his existence or whatever. He is unable to find out by himself. Then Vishnu directs him, perform tapasya. And then he performs tapasya. And then Vishnu reveals himself to Brahma. Then Vishnu enlightens Brahma. Then Brahma begins his work of secondary creation. That means he gives the bodies to the living entities. First of all, Brahma creates the Prajapatis, and the Prajapatis give rise to different species. First of each species, and those species by the procreation system, through eggs or through embryo or through perspiration or through seeds, the universe gets populated. So all this is happening while Vishnu is active in everybody, in every stage, in every phenomenon. Vishnu is active. So if Brahma is born and Brahma is going to give the bodies for the living entities, what about the material objects? The planets, and each planet there are so many living spaces. See, for the generation of for the living entities to be taking birth in different bodies, they require a residence, place of residence. That's why when the earth was submerged in the water of devastation, Swayambhava Manu, he prayed to the Supreme Lord to rescue the earth. Then only the earth becomes the place of residence for the different species, especially the human beings. Otherwise, they are created, where do they live? Where do they live? So therefore, the Lord appeared as Varaha, the prayer of Brahma, and rescued the earth. He brought out the earth out of the Garbha ocean. So then Swayambhava Manu could do his job, his duty of creating the humans like that. So every Vishnu is always active, he is always in the background. That is one characteristic of Vishnu, it's always in the background. Even as maintainer, he is in the background. That's why in the Brahma Samhita it is said, Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka. Sadhana means the instrument. Durga Devi is the instrumental cause of creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world. Even the directors of these three gunas, which become activated and give rise to Rajoguna, is the guna which is activated for creation, and Sattva-guna for maintenance, and Tamo-guna for destruction. The directors are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So they are the directors of the three gunas also. Director of Rajoguna is Brahma. Therefore, Brahma employs Rajoguna for creation, and Vishnu employs Sattva-guna for maintenance, and Shiva employs Tamoguna for destruction. But behind the three, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, of course, Vishnu is Krishna himself, but still, behind these three is Krishna, the background. That's why Krishna says, Maya Dhyakshena Prakritihi Suyate Sa Charachara. In the Bhagavatam, it explains in detail that I create, I maintain, I destroy through the agencies. So Vishnu is a maintainer, but so many devatas are involved in this maintenance. All of them, he is present in their heart as super soul. So as super soul, he is very active, very, very active. Just like Krishna says, I digest the food that you eat. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashritaha. Sarvasya Chaham Rudi Sannivishto Matta Smrutir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. I give you knowledge, I give you remembrance, I give you forgetfulness. So if you carefully study the Bhagavad Gita, you'll understand this whole body is functioning only because of Paramatma. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that actually all the material activities are carried out by the three gunas, but you think out of false ego, I am the doer. What is that? Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha hankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. So actually this differentiation into the elements and the different odors that are evolving is because of the super soul, because of the Supreme Lord as super soul. And even we develop this sense of smelling with our nostrils only when super soul actually directs our intelligence to differentiate. Directs our intelligence. Then only we can differentiate the different odors. At the time of creation, this has happened, the differentiation has happened. But for me to recognize the odors which are already there, how do I recognize? So that is possible only by Super Soul. So everything is possible by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Everything. Whether it is material activity or it is some material creation or some material discrimination or even discriminate between matter and spirit. And then not only discriminate but also understand the characteristic of spirit. Therefore, first of all, in the second chapter, Krishna differentiates between matter and spirit or between the body and soul, and then describes the characteristics of the soul. Where the characteristics of matter he describes in 7th chapter partially and in the 13th chapter in a little more detail. Because the whole instruction of Bhagavad Gita is ultimately you should be concerned with spirit and not so much with matter. But to get out of material entanglement, in the 13th chapter, he differentiates between matter and spirit, the characteristic of matter particularly, and teaches how the three gunas are acting and you are entangled in the three gunas. To get out, mam chayo avyabicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati tetan brahma bhuyaya. You extricate yourself by bhakti, avyabicharani bhakti. That's the only way you can extricate yourself. There's no other way. Like that, in the Bhagavad Gita, the principles are there, but in the Bhagavatam, the details are given thoroughly. Thoroughly details are given because it is actually a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by Vyasadeva. Therefore, all the details are given. But the presentation is not so very like a textbook. No, giving all the details. No, it is presented as a wonderful presentation of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his various incarnations and the pastimes of his devotees. Bhagavata, Bhagavan and the Bhagavatas, their pastimes, their Leela. So it's an interesting presentation in the Bhagavatam, but the philosophy is certainly there. It is nicely presented along with the pastimes, the philosophy is also. I'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.